Hello and welcome to the channel, The Big Black American Secret. And today I want to talk to you about a few things. Well, mainly one thing, but it's going to be a few moving parts. In the book, Sun Tzu, The Art of War, there's a quote in it that says this: "The whole secret lies in confusing the enemy so that he cannot fathom our real intent." Now, that quote is important, for the simple fact is we've always been at war. But we've been so confused we have not known we were at war. We've been at war since 1492. 1492 is when Christopher Columbus came to the West Indies islands, the Caribbean islands, and started enslaving Indians. Now I know we've all been told and taught that for black people here in America, slavery started in 1619 when the first Africans were brought over to Jamestown. And again, that's part of the confusion, the intended confusion. Now, if you get a chance, I won't be able to go through the information that I've always gone through in another video, and it's called The Real Transatlantic Slave Trade. You can look that up. It's The Big Black American Secret is the YouTube channel, and it's just called The Real Atlantic Slave Trade. It'll go through the facts of that. Now, the reason I mention that is Christopher Columbus in the Caribbean islands in the West Indies, he enslaved Indians on those islands. Now, of course, you shaking your head going, okay, he enslaved Indians. What the hell does that got to do with black Americans? Well, that's the whole thing. Those Indians were black Americans. In fact, they were indigenous Americans, Arawak Indians. Okay, now, as I mentioned in that video, and I do suggest that you pause this video and go watch that one before you watch this one, because in it you'll learn a little bit more about what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to give you a little bit here, basically saying this: Christopher Columbus enslaved Indians in the Caribbean island. Those Indians were pirated from him, Spanish ships, and when the Portuguese got involved, American ships disguised as Portugal ships. Disguised as Dutch ships pirated the Portuguese ships and stole slaves. And in fact, the Portuguese ship that was pirated by the American ship in 1619 was just that. They were pirated. 301 of them, I believe, was pirated off of the ship, the Portuguese ship, and brought here in 1619. Now, how do you know these was Indians? It's a fair question. For one, they were captured in the West Indies. The West Indies, especially Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone was a port. It's a colony that belonged to the Portuguese, and they took Indians from the Caribbean to West Africa. And then from there, they took them to other places all around, from ports in England, Portugal, Spain, stuff like that. So we've been taught that they were taking Indians from West Africa and bringing them here. They had been taking Indians from the Caribbean islands to Sierra Leone, West Africa, for hundreds of years. And in fact, Sierra Leone was pretty much a hub for pirate ships from all the European continents. Again, go watch that video and it'll bring you up to speed on that. Now, I was watching a video the other day by two people I respect highly. I will never say anything bad about them, because they in this struggle, and they for real. They black one for real. They just like many other people. They just don't know this extra little bit of information that I've been telling people about. Dane Calloway been telling people about. Kurimio Aha has been educating people on. Because again, going back to The Art of War, that quote, "The whole secret lies in confusing the enemy so that he cannot fathom our real intent." The whole real intent for the Europeans in the conquest of America was money. Pure and simple. When they came here, they saw all of us beautiful, melanated copper-colored indigenous people. All of this beautiful landscape and fruit trees and fishes. It was basically heaven on earth. Christopher Columbus said that himself. Okay? And so they did what Europeans do, along with the backing from the Roman Catholic Church, the Vatican. They secured patents and they came here and they started colonizing over here, and they used the indigenous people to do that. Now, why what am I getting at? Why am I telling you all of this? You know, I'm telling you this because we've been tricked. We've been completely misdirected. So much so that again, I'm going back. I was watching a video from two people I strongly admire. I consider them my mentors because they have very valuable information in their perspective fields of understanding, and I follow them. I watch them religiously, and I've learned a lot from them, and I'll continue to learn a lot from them. And I hope to one day meet both of these gentlemen, Dr. Claude Anderson and Dr. Boyce Watkins. Now they were talking about slavery, and here is what Dr. Claude Anderson mentioned. He said that white people don't respect black people because of slavery. He says, Africans had been captured and brought over here in slaves, and no African ships came over here to retrieve us or fight for us. So, white people do not respect black people for that fault. And he says, but they do respect the Indians because the Indians fought back. And I'm gonna tell you, because that's my field of endeavor, based on my research and my personal history and my family. I see where the art of war, this quote comes into that, And again, the quote is from the book The Art of War by Sun Tzu. The whole secret lies in confusing the enemy so that he cannot fathom our real intent. White people's intent in America was to steal the land and make as much money as possible. You understand what I'm saying? So, there's a passage that I got out of this book that I'll be reading, Indian Slavery in Colonial America by Alan Gallay, and and I pulled up a few things on Wikipedia. Now, going back to what I said a few minutes ago, Christopher Columbus and the Portuguese enslaved Indians in the West Indies. Those Indians were pirated by the English, pirated by the Dutch, pirated by France, and brought to wherever they was coming to. You know what I mean? And after they made Indian slavery illegal, so to speak, the new marker for a slave was your skin color, black or graduated shades thereof. Okay, so if you, black American, came off a ship, at that point, coming off that ship, you were an African African slave. Period. Point blank. It's all documented, right? So, now, again, there's clues everywhere. What I'm looking at in this screen is from Wikipedia, and it's the History of Charlestown, and it talks about what's in this book. I'm going to read it from here because it's got a little bit more detail in it than this book, and plus the words are kind of small and mess my little eyes up. You feel what I'm saying? But anyway, and it's a few things I want you to listen for. Caribbean island, West Indies, okay? Because those are the hijacks, okay? And it's just under the section slavery. And again, the main topic is history of South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, okay? During the 17th century, it was difficult to acquire enslaved Africans north of the Caribbean. To meet labor needs, European colonists had practiced Indian slavery for some time. The Carolinians transformed the Indian slave trade during the late 17th and 18th century by treating slaves as a trade commodity to be exported taken out of the country, okay? Mainly to the West Indies. Okay, so they took Indians from America, from Carolina, to the West Indies. Remember what I told you about Christopher Columbus, right? Okay. Now, Alan Gallay, who's the author of this book, estimates that between 1670 and 1715, between 24,000 and 51,000 Native Americans were captured and sold from South Carolina, many more than the number of African slaves imported into the colonies of the future United States during that period. So more Indians were captured and enslaved, put on ships and sent out of South Carolina than they have documented ship records of Africans coming in. So all of this information comes from ship documents, documented ships. Ships have always had logs. You understand? When people act like they don't know what came in and out of these ports, they lying. It's all documented. Okay? That being said, now, two things I hope you picked up on. And personally for me, they told us very little about Indian slavery. In fact, they told us that the Indians couldn't handle the slavery. They'd run away or die from the heat. You know what I'm saying? All kind of bullshit. But here it clearly tells you between 24,000 and 51,000 Native Americans were exported into slavery into the West Indies than African slaves imported into the colony between the years 1670 and 1715. You see how we've been lied to? Because nobody told you about this in your history books. I guarantee you, nobody said this to you because it wasn't told to me. That's how you know it's a lie, and that's how you know it's a hijack. Now, that's not as far as I'm going. Okay? Now, you say, okay, well, that sounds kind of interesting. You know, what else you got for me? You know, okay. Well, there's a little part I'm gonna read because you might go, well, why was all that taking place? I mean, it sounds interesting and all, but what does all that mean? Well, the enslavement of Indians was very, very profitable. That's why they enslaved so many of them and sent them to the West Indies. You say, well, okay, well, what happened to them when they went to the West Indies? They got them. They sold them there, put more of them on a ship, and then shipped them back to parts of America, other colonies, to West Africa, to Europe. Now they are African slaves. It's just a flip flop because the current legal situation was any Negro coming off a ship is an African slave. Was not African slave, always was Native American. But coming off a ship, that made you an African slave. That's the hijack. That's the lie. You see what I'm saying? But I'm going to read this. Okay? It says, all the European colonizers, the English, the French, the Spanish, Portugal, Dutch, and Danish, had an insatiable desire for free labor and the huge profits from Indian slavery. So much so, they invoked endless wars against Indians so they could legally justify enslaving and selling them, as can be seen from the following list of Indian wars that I'm about to read off to you. Okay? See, and the reason this is so, I have to address it, is because of what Dr. Claude Anderson said. And he is just he does not know about this because he has not studied it on this level. He has a great wealth of knowledge on the stuff he focuses on. But I guarantee you my dollar to your dime, if he research his own family, if you research your own family and ask your older relatives, do they know of any Indian heritage in our family? 99% of them are going to tell you, yeah. You understand what I'm saying? And I got another video about that you need to check out on my channel as well. So when you finish watching this, go watch them all. It ain't long videos. They fairly reasonable schedule. I mean, times videos. But because we've been misdirected, he is simply quoting what he learned in schooling and from what he knows. I respect that man 100%. I don't diss him at all. This is no diss to no one. My goal is to teach and to show people what I did not know. So I would love to sit with him, talk to him, or anybody else, especially anybody that's an influencer. Anybody who's black first and has a following. We need to come together and be on the same page. Because if we think that our people were weak and scared slaves, then that's what our children will be. When all the while we fought like hell. We fought tooth and fucking nail. And I'm finna prove it to you right now. This is a list of Indian wars and the year those wars were fought. Starting in 1540. Now remember, all of those European continents were on this, European country people were on this land fighting our people on every front. Every front. You know what I'm saying? So you got in 1540, Battle of Mabala. The next battle was the Tiku War. That was the winter of 1540 to 41. The next one, Navajo War, 1600 to 1866. Anglo-Powhatan War, 1610 to 1646. Pequot War, from 1636 to 1638. Beaver Wars, 1642 to 1648. Kieft War, 1643 to 1645. Peachtree War, 1655. Escapus War, 1659 to 63. King Philip's War, 1675 to 78. Queen Anne's War, 1702 to 1713. Tuscarora War, 1711 to 1715. Fox War, 1712 to 1733. Yamasee War, 1715 to 1717. Chickasaw War, 1721 to 1761. Doomer's War, 1722 to 1725. King George's War, 1744 to 1748. 7 Years' War, 1757 to 1763. French and Indian War, 1754 to 63. Anglo-Cherokee War, 1758 to 61. And that was part of the 7-Year War, and the French and Indian War was part of the 7-Year War. The Pontiac War, 1763 to 1766. Lord Dunmore's War, 1774. American Revolutionary War, 1775 to 83. Cherokee American War, 1776 to 1795, and that's part of the American Revolutionary War. Second Cherokee War, 1776, part of the Cherokee American War. Northwest Indian War, 1785 to 95. Oconee War, 1785. Tecumseh War, 1811 to 1833, and that's part of the 1812 War. War of 1812, 1812 to 1815. Peoria War, 1813, as part of the War of 1812. Creek War, that's 1813 to 14, part of the War of 1812. First Seminole War, 1817 to 1818. Texas Indian Wars, 1820 to 1875, and that's part of the Apache Wars. The Araucarian War, 1823. Winnebago War, 1827. Black Hawk War, 1832. Second Seminole War, 1835 to 1842. Second Creek War, 1836. Comanche War, 1836 to 1875, part of the Texas Indian War. Oh, and again, this is Wikipedia, list of Indian wars. You can Google that yourself. You can Wikipedia it yourself, okay? Osage Indian War, 1837. Cayuse Wars, 1847 to 1855. Ute Wars, 1849 to 1923. Apache Wars, 1849 to 1924, and that's part of the Texas Indian War. The Jacarella War, 1849 to 1855, that's part of the Apache, Ute, and Texas Indian War. The Yuma War, 1850 to 1853. Mariposa War, 1850 to 1851. Walker War, 1853, part of the Ute War. Sioux War, 1854 to 1891. First Sioux War, 1854 to 1856, part of the Sioux War. Cliquota War, 1855. Puget Sound War, 1855 to 1856, part of the Yakima War. Rogue River War, 1855 to 56. Third Seminole War, 1855 to 58. Yakima War, 1855 to 58. Klamath and Salmon Run River, 1855. Tente War, 1856, part of the Ute War. Toul River War, 1856. Cours d'Alene War, 1858, part of the Yakima War. Mendocino War, 1858, part of the Yakima War. Fraser Canyon War, 1858. Bald Hills War, 1858 to 1864. Mohawk War, 1858 to 59. Paiute War, 1860. Yavapai War, 1861 to 75. Owens Valley Indian War, 1862 to 1865. Dakota War of 1862, part of the Sioux Wars. Gasuta War, 1863. Colorado War, 1863 to 65, part of the Sioux War. Snake War, 1864 to 1868. A lot of them, right? We're at 70 wars so far, and it goes all the way up to 94 wars. Okay, I'm gonna continue the list because you need to hear this shit. Halalapa War, 1865 to 70, part of the Yapasa War. Black Hawks War, 1865 to 72, part of the Ute, Apache, and Navajo War. Powder River War, 1865, part of the Sioux War. Red Clouds War, 1866 to 68, part of the Sioux War. Comanche Campaign, 1867 to 75, part of Texas Indian War. Red River Rebellion, 1869 to 70. Modoc War, 1872 to 73. Red River War, 1874 to 75. Great Sioux War of 1876. 1876 to 77, part of the Sioux War. Buffalo Hunters War, 1876 to 77, part of the Apache and Texas Indian War. Nez Perce War, 1877. Bonuc War, 1878. Cayenne War, 1878 to 79. Sheep Eaters Indian War, 1879. White River War, 1879, part of the Ute War. Victoria's War, 1879 to 81, part of Apache War during Renegade period. Geronimo's War, 1881 to 86, part of the Apache Wars. Northwest Rebellion, 1885. Crow War, 1887. Ghost Dance War, 1890 to 91, part of the Sioux Wars. Crazy Snake Rebellion, 1909. New Mexico Javajo War, 1913. Bluff War, 1914 to 15, part of the Navajo and Ute War. Colorado Paiute War, 1915. Posey War, 1923, part of Ute War. Okay? Now, why so many wars? Because if you are at war with Indians, the captives can legally be slaves. You understand? So they would take captive Indians into these colonies and then ship them off to the West Indies. They would get shipments of west of Indians captured in Jamaica, the Bahamas, Sierra Leone, and ship them back here. Same people, just flip flop, shell game. Because here's what happened. If you try to enslave a man on his own land, in his own territory, it ain't gonna work out too good for you. And it didn't work out too good for them. Think about it. I'm gonna give you a scenario. You a man. Somebody break in your house, get a jump on you, get the upper hand on you, lock you up, put you in your basement. He upstairs raping your wife and got her cooking your food in the kitchen. He got your kids out in the field working, tilling the garden. He probably raping them too. You know? My question is this. You get loose. By somehow, some way, you miraculously get loose. What's going to happen to that man? I'll wait. Ain't but one thing going to happen to that man. Death. Instantaneous, torturous, bloody. The motherfucker gonna die. And if he ain't gonna die, I don't know what kind of man you is. You ain't finna hold no prayer meeting with him. No, he's going to die. A horrible death. You might kill him 3 or 4 times. Shit, I don't know. Kill him, wake his ass up, and kill him again. You see what I'm saying? And that's what took place on this continent. They enslaved your people, and they tried to enslave them and capture them and keep them here. Didn't work out too well for them. You can't capture and keep a person on in familiar territory. You know, they got allies, they got relatives, they know the land. But if you lock them up, put them on a ship and send them somewhere else, that person don't know where they at. They more apt to comply. Worked out well for these Europeans. See, my people, we have been at war since 1492, and you need to know that. The war has never ended for us. Never. That's why we being killed in the street by armed militia, by police officers, by security guards, and nothing is really happening to these people because they're following the laws of the land. They're following the laws of the land, and the laws of the land is going back to the earliest constitution. Blacks were not allowed to carry weapons, knives, guns, not even a mirror. They needed you defenseless in case they came and asked you anything or wanted to go upside your head. That's in the law books. And that's why black people are even nervous today to carry guns, some of us. You know what I mean? We feel like, you know, we don't need to carry a gun, or, you know, we may accidentally hurt ourselves and our loved ones. No. That's wrong thinking. You get you as many guns as you can afford. Teach your family about gun safety and how to shoot guns. Because if you find yourself defenseless again and things get a little rough, like they will get it eventually if things don't change, you have a natural right to defend yourself. A natural right. That ain't something somebody got to tell you to do. But that right has been taken from you. You have been made to feel like you can't do that. Like it's wrong for you to do that. How do I know that? Because if you see a black man with a gun, you instantly get nervous. You get nervous because he a black man with a gun, and you a black man. The fuck you nervous of another black man for? Because of racism, white supremacy, you don't trust your own people. Hell, you don't trust yourself. And that's got to change. Again, the art of war. The whole secret lies in confusing the enemy so that he cannot fathom our real intent. The real intent is to keep your land, keep your resources, keep you blind. Make you think you from someplace else when all the while this is your home. Because if you knew this was your home, you'd fight for it. But if you think you from Africa, you disconnected. And you think you was a slave that just went along with slavery and your people never came for you. You see how that damages your mind? And then that poison gonna be passed down to your sons and your daughters. And that's dangerous. It's very dangerous. You're very precious people, special people. You know? I mean, there is so much you need to know about yourself. That's why this YouTube channel is called The Big Black American Secret. And of course, you now know that the secret is you are not from Africa. Those are just melanated cousins of yours. You see, black people occupied every continent on this planet because we're melanated. The sun gives every other people here cancer but us. Those people evolved during the last ice age in the northern hemisphere. That's where they evolved, and they evolved from us. During the ice age, the sun was blocked. Your melanin at that point worked against you, but those people were able to thrive. They're a very small group of people. Very small group of people. That's because they're a genetic defect. They, just like in the wild, if an animal give birth to an albino, they know that albino ain't gonna live long. It ain't gonna be able to keep up with the rest of the herd. It's gonna be easily attacked by other prey, other wild animals as prey. You know, that's all that was. But these white people came out of the ice age, and they had discovered gunpowder, and it was able to make guns. And at which point they felt like they were superior. You know, so they did what wild people do. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, please understand that you just as wild. Matter of fact, you more wild, you more vicious. They just misdirected your mind to make you think you ain't a man. That you ain't supposed to protect yourself and your family, when that's exactly what you're supposed to do. So, black man, Aboriginal American, a Marucan is who you are. Stand up. Stand on your feet. Control your square. Bring justice to this continent and then to the world. Learn what you do not know. It's in your genetic memory, by the way. Watch all my videos. The Big Black American Secret. I didn't want to hold you long, but I needed for you to know this. You know, your people have always fought. I just read off to you 94 Indian wars because they was slave catching Indians, aka Aboriginal Americans, aka your black ass, your peoples, not African slaves. That's the hijack. Okay? We'll talk soon. Peace out.